So, how about a critically acclaimed movie? Yeah, I'm discussing Paranormal Activity, the original, which was very praised in its day, and yeah, I could see why. Now, why did I do it for this January suck? Well, the thing is that Paranormal Activity spun off to a bunch of sequels, spin offs, and whatnot that people just really didn't like, and well, after seeing this one, I could see how this could have gotten so wrong after one try. Um, Basically, if you're unaware of the movie, it's a found footage style movie where it's a couple who are living in a house that seems to be haunted, seems to be particularly interested in the girl, and just stuff happens from there. I mean, like I said, it's found footage, so it's done as if this is like a home movie, or a collection of security camera videos. And in that aspect, I will say this movie does it really well. However, even though this is a good movie, it's still one that I can't really see myself watching again all that much, just because it's also, I mean, granted, it's great that it's short, but at a certain point, it does feel like it's a long, drawn out idea. And, it's understandable, that's something that you would have to face in something like this. And, like I said, the best thing about it is that it does feel like it's an authentic video. Like, this couple really feels like a real couple. The way they're acting feels like it's not like, Hollywood acting. It just feels like something natural to whatever's going on. So that I did enjoy. But like I said, it just feels like something that's a little too long, even if it is short. The problem is that with it being, feeling authentic, you do get the feeling that some of it is like, okay, this is going a little longer than it should, but again, I understand because it's supposed to be real. So, if it, when you get like a real home video, you know, things don't really go like in a way like a story would, where everything's gonna follow a natural beat. It's gonna drag out. People are gonna say stupid shit. Pal around for a little bit, and that's fine. It works for what it's trying to do. It's just that since this is a movie, the double-edged sword there is that it will feel a little tiresome at times. I mean, at most when I was looking at this, I was like, this would make for a really great web series. Like, I don't know how many of you have heard of it, but there was this thing that came out, years ago called Marble Hornets. It was like I guess like I don't know if it was exactly the creation of the Slender Man story, but it was at least from my understanding, like the inspiration for a lot of the different versions that people now do. And that started off as just like a bunch of little short videos, like, hey, look, here's just a little thing, it's normal, but then you pay attention and holy shit, there's something creepy in the background. That's kind of how this movie feels like, only strung all together. And again, the downside is that you will start to feel tired by it by the time it's over. It's short, so thankfully, it doesn't overstay its welcome. It just will inevitably feel that way once you get through it. But yeah, it was a really interesting movie. I mean, having never seen this and only going by what I had heard about, the sequels where it's like, oh, just a little thing happens here, a little sound happens there. If you're not really paying attention, it's just gonna be boring. I can see where people were coming from, even with this one. But I will say that even though it started off with slow, and I'm just like, okay, get on with it, get on with it. As stuff started going more rampant, I was like, oh shit, this is kind of creepy. I mean, again, it's not like it's not like it's something that's really scary for me, but it does bring out that fear a little bit. And like, once we were at that ending, which by the sounds of it, they changed it from what it was originally intended, and from what I read, the original ending was a little better than what this one was, because I feel like, okay, you're going a little too cartoony with this ending, but still, it's kind of spooky. I mean, you just look at it and it's like, oh okay, I'm feeling this, just the little things, especially watching it at night, make you, look at the corner, pay attention to whatever sound is going on in the room, and that, adds a level of fear to it. So, yeah, in that regard, for a movie that I was expecting to, maybe dislike, maybe look at it years afterwards, after, all the spin offs and whatnot that were made, thinking, like, okay, this is going to be one of those movies that was really praised in its time, but, looking at it now, it's overrated or, just flat out bad. And, it's one of those things where it's like everyone was just high off of the same thing, I guess. It managed to, surprise me, and it's like, yeah, this is a genuinely good movie. It's not great. It's not something that I wouldn't say is deserving of, like a horror masterpiece. And like I said, I could definitely see how the sequels went wrong because it was one of those things where it's like, if you're gonna make it work, it was only ever gonna work this once. You really don't need to expand on the story. But for what it is, it did work, and I do appreciate it succeeding, considering that one thing that's often forgotten about this and its sequels is that they were like the first Bloomhouse movies, and if you're aware of like the horror scene right now in movies, Bloomhouse is pretty much like the number one name on that, and yeah, their movies are always great. So it's nice to know that they started off with something that was actually pretty good, and worked their way up with other classics. So yeah, sorry, just generative suck. I got a good movie. I mean, I didn't expect it. Even though yes, I know this is a movie that was praised. I figured, hey, time and the sequels would have revealed that yeah, it was never good to begin with, which happens. I mean, stuff like Scream, the original one, was praised in its day, and a lot of people have come around and figured no, it's not actually all that good. So it's nice to know that this is one of those movies that was good and is still good. You know, and if you were expecting me to hate it, if you were expecting me to bash it for like oh the jump scares are all just little noises or whatnot, well, I'm sorry to disappoint you. Oh well.